Chapter 10 30 Cannonballs. May 21st, 1856. There came a ferocious banging on the door, and it wasn't even dawn yet. James jumped out of bed and yanked his breeches on. He was down the ladder to the front door before his parents were out of their bedroom. Jeremy, with his hair all wild, yelled, "James, come, something's brewing out here." "What's happening?" he thought of the men massing restlessly on Mount Ored last night. What were they up to? "They're fixin' to come down from the mountain, hundreds of 'em, maybe thousands. My pa's organizing the men. We ain't letting 'em ride over us, you can bet on that." "Son?" James's father came to the door, Ma right behind him, rolling her blonde, crimped hair into a knot. "Morning, Mr. Weaver, ma'am. My pa says to get all the women and children out of the ravine at the edge of town, and all able-bodied men to come to the Free State Hotel armed." Pa ignored Jeremy and turned to James. "Tell us what thee knows, son." "There were these men up on the mountain, Pa. The marshal's posse I told you about took the prisoners yesterday. The marshal left, but the men camped there all night. More of 'em than yesterday. Hundreds of 'em, sir. Pro-slavers, border ruffians from Missouri." "But have they caused any trouble?" Pa asked. "Well, sir, they've taken over Governor Robinson's house for their headquarters. We ain't waiting to be trampled by their horses, sir, all due respect." Jeremy tipped his cap toward Pa, but it seemed like an empty gesture. "Have they made any threats, Jeremy?" "Well, sir, in the night they rolled this cannon into town. Old Sacramento, it's called, sir. Pa says it's left over from the war with Mexico. They brought it up from Georgia." Pa thought about that a minute, while Ma went to start the stove warming. Jeremy shifted from foot to foot, impatient with Pa's silence. "Sir, old Sacramento's fixed square at the mouth of the Free State Hotel. They aim to blow it to pieces. You might call that a threat, sir." Pa nodded. "Thank you, son. Thee must go on to the next house as thy father told thee to, and we'll do what we have to." With Jeremy gone, Ma began packing a basket of food. "James, wake thy sister and tell her to come down with a warm shawl and her favorite plaything, and not to dawdle a minute." "Yes, Ma." Pa said, "I'll wake thy sister, James. Thee must go out back and dig a hole. We'll bury whatever's dearest to us, but be quick, son." The hole was easy. The ground was soft with spring rain, and when he was done, he came in to find Rebecca dwarfed in Pa's rocker, rubbing her eyes and clutching her baby doll. Ma put a small crate in the middle of the room, and they each dropped in a few objects, some books and notebooks, a pen, and a jar of ink. Ma's ruby brooch from great-grandma Baylor, Pa's law certificate, Rebecca's yellow hair ribbons, and a red bucket and shovel she prized. James took far too long deciding what to save, and finally he tossed in entirely unimportant things, a rabbit's tail and a puny sketch he'd made of their house in Boston. Suddenly they heard a clap of thunder, but it wasn't gone in seconds as it should have been. "Thundering horses," Pa said. "Millicent, thee and Rebecca take the food and go on over and find the other women gathering in the ravine." Ma nodded and tied her bonnet under her chin. She crooked her finger, which was a sure sign that Rebecca wasn't to delay a single instant. "James, come outside. Thee and I will bury this box." They lowered the box, as small as a baby's coffin, and tamped the fresh earth over it. "Now we'll head into town and see how we can help to our neighbors." In town, people were shouting bulletins at one another and running everywhere, but Pa walked at his dignified, steady clip, his boots pulverizing clods of dirt in the road. James had to take deep breaths to keep going so slow when everyone was passing them by. After a time, he looked back on their house, which seemed so singularly deserted out there. In a whirlwind of prairie vengeance, it could be so easily uprooted. But there was no time for such thoughts, because now they were in the heart of town and coming up behind a human chain of strangers outside the Free State Hotel. Their line was broken only by the cannon in the middle of the square. The men's heels dug into the dirt, their shoulders set, their necks stiff, ready warriors against a handful of Lawrence men just digging the sting of sleep from their eyes. Some of their men with fighting spirits had spent their fight the day before. Now they slept in the Lecompton jailhouse. Who was left? Old men, young men apiece, and a few scrappy boys. Sheriff Samuel Jones broke out of the battalion of men. He was the sheriff of Douglas County, but really a resident of Missouri. For a second, James thought the sheriff would be doing his duty as a law officer, but he soon made his mission clear. He climbed up on a barrel and cast his booming voice into the crowd. Listen, men of Lawrence, we're through talking. My men's giving you 30 minutes to get everybody out of the hotel, and then I swear to God we'll fire on it. No one stopped to question his word. People scurried every which way, pouring out of every door of the hotel with suitcases and boxes. Women tossed tables and mirrors, even small children, out the window into their arms of the men below, while the marshal's posse swarmed into the hotel and ransacked the place. At the front door, they manned a wagon where they loaded all the things they'd pilfered from the hotel. Clothes and cans of food, stacks of potatoes, bedspreads, and anything they could lift in a dash. Outside, children ran. Women unaccustomed to running ran as fast as their cumbersome dresses would allow to the outskirts of the city, on the shouted orders of their fathers and husbands. Bethany Maxwell ran by, never even noticing James. He stayed close to his father, waiting for a signal. What was a 12-year-old expected to do? He wasn't a baby to cower with the women and children in the ravine, but he wasn't a man either. The posse raised their red flag over the Free State Hotel. Smoke, someone yelled. Behind them, black ropes billowed toward the turquoise sky of the dawn. They captured puffs from the cottonwood trees in their wake. Then a giant flame stabbed the sky and turned it bright orange as if the day had burst. Sheriff Jones shouted, I am determined to execute the law if it costs me my life, and he gave the signal to fire the cannon at the hotel. A woman leaped from a third-floor window. James ran forward to soften her fall. He rolled to the ground and tasted dirt, then quickly helped the lady to her feet. Her thank you was a scared smile as she ran off. Another cannonball, but the proud, stubborn walls of the hotel had harbored the Free State forces refused to crumble. Even after 30 cannonballs were volleyed, the pro-slavers, maddened by their failure, roared like taunted lions. They rushed toward the hotel with powder kegs. Jeremy and Will and their fathers and a handful of other men tried to stop them, but the Lawrence men were shoved aside by the vicious mob. 2 kegs of powder made their way down to the basement of the hotel. That's all it took. A spark of fire and did what 30 cannonballs couldn't. The Free State Hotel exploded and burned to the ground. Sheriff Jones yelled, I have done it, by God, I have done it. This is the happiest day of my life. Now the border ruffians were pumped with their glory, shouting, Slavery in Kansas, slavery in Kansas. They rampaged through Lawrence, burned both newspaper offices, but not before they took all the type out and threw it in the river, robbed and terrorized the people in the streets and the few old folks who huddled in their homes. Where were the Beecher's Bibles now? James shouted to Jeremy. Where are those Sharps rifles? Couldn't get any more ammo, he shouted back. He'd covered his face with a kerchief because the smoke was as thick as clouds. Don't breathe it, James. James pulled his collar over his nose and mouth. All around him, men were gasping for breath, coughing. Black spit shot from their mouths. He lost Pa. Where was Jeremy? He spotted him now, throwing up punches at one of the pro-slavers, and Will, who was bigger than all the boys their age, had wrestled another pro-slaver to the ground and was pummeling his face with the mallet of his fist. Blood flew everywhere, turned the rich earth to mud. A shot rang out, another and another. A piece of someone's hand flew by James' face. Pro-slavery, anti-slavery, he only knew he was splattered with its blood. His stomach heaved at the rusty, visceral stench. Now he was scared he'd get hurt and scared he'd run. Scared he'd bloody someone if he got in there like Will and Jeremy, and scared he'd kill someone, and scared he'd be glad he did. He wanted to rush forward, his knees locked. Then he felt a tug at his arm. Pa, there is no place for men of God to be here. To be. His father yanked him so hard that he staggered and fell to the ground where he'd be trampled by the ugly mob. Pa pulled him back up, carried him like dead game until they were in a clearing. He put James down, but pulled him close to his own chest. Thee must never harden thy heart to what thee's seen today. James spoke through hot tears, his words thick and bitter as castor oil. But we did nothing to help, Pa. They destroyed our whole town, and we watched. God requires us to be witnesses, son, not murderers. Come, we'll go home. But there was no home, only stones of the cellar and broken skeleton of the second story. The heap of crumbled sod, burning earth stung their noses and throats, and all their worldly possessions lay smoldering, except for the few things they buried in the yard.